Thanks for joining us. You've tuned into Arirang's Within the Frame. Live from Seoul, I'm Han Da-eun. The highly anticipated Paris 2024 Olympics will officially kick off in about 8 hours with an extravagant opening ceremony through the heart of Paris. Some 10,500 athletes from across the globe will compete in 329 events at the world's largest multisport event that will run through August 11th. Representing South Korea, 143 athletes will compete across 21 sporting events in pursuit of gold, embodying the spirit of determination and national pride. The excitement is palpable worldwide, but the Paris Games are also fraught with security risks and loud controversies amid heightened geopolitical tensions. Paris 2024 Olympics celebration and controversies. That's the topic of our discussion today, and joining us via Skype is Yoo Jee-ho, sports journalist at Yonhap News Agency. It's always great to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here too.
And for a voice straight from Paris, we have Nicolas Roca, journalist at Radio France International, joining us tonight. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good to be here.
All right, Nicolas, let's kick things off with you. So the 2024 Summer Olympics, it's the first to be hosted by Paris in a century. So I'm sure Parisians and visitors alike are feeling the excitement. First, share with us about the ambience there.
Well, the last few days it's been a mix of excitement and also some few problems because the events are going in the heart of the city. So of course for the people living there it created a few problems. It was not that easy to go through the Seine, the main river of Paris. For instance, it took me 45 minutes 2 days ago just to cross the river because most of the bridge have been closed. And there's been some frustrations for tourists. We've been hearing on the French news a lot that some tourists were a bit unhappy by the fact that some of the main touristic attractions of Paris were not as accessible as expected. So there's this part, but there's also of course excitement because everybody's kind of eager to see how it is going to look like in a few hours for this first big opening ceremony along the Seine River. We've been speaking, a lot of foreign languages in the streets of Paris in the last few days. So there's definitely a feeling that something unique is happening, and even some of the Parisians are kind of accepting the idea that their life might be made a bit more difficult because of all those of all those accommodations and all of those issues that they have been facing. But it's a unique event, so unique events comes with unique issues in a way.
It's the first to be hosted by Paris in 100 years and the first to be staged in Europe since the London Olympics 2012. So festive mood must have taken over Europe, although there may have some minor setbacks for locals, as you pointed out. And there are security concerns as well. And we'll discuss about that as we move on. But before that, Nicolas, we hear that for the first time in Olympic history, the opening ceremony won't be held inside a stadium. Could you elaborate on this unique arrangement and share what highlights we can expect on the grand opening night?
So the authorities are trying to keep the secret as much as possible, but all journalists are a bit like little squirrels trying to know what is going to happen tonight. What we can tell for sure is that it should kick off at 7:30 local time tonight. It will last something like around 4 hours, and it will be along the Seine River. It will go through most of the famous landmarks of Paris. It will go along Notre Dame, the Louvre Museum, Concorde, Grand Palais, Invalides, and it will finish, of course, near the Eiffel Tower. It will be a massive event. So the athletes, the 7,000 athletes that will participate in the opening ceremony, will be on 94 boats and will go through 6 kilometers of river. The show will happen on the water, of course, but also on the bridges, along the banks, on the main landmarks that the ceremony will pass through. There will be 3,000 dancers and comedians that will be there. We know that there will be some bike BMX show. There's also a lot of questions on who will sing, who will participate at the ceremony. There's been a lot of gossip going around Paris because Céline Dion, that hasn't sung in 4 years now, I believe, is in Paris, and she might participate. There's also the French singer Aya Nakamura that will be here. Lady Gaga is also in Paris, so there's a lot of hopes and speculation around that. We know it will probably be something pretty unique because there will be 300,000 people that will be able to watch the ceremony live along the banks of the Seine River. Amongst them, more than 100 head of states and governments. We know because, in the last few days, there's been some rehearsal, for instance, of a light show on the Eiffel Tower. We know that the Parisian sky will be closed for 6 hours. So that's the kind of things we know, but there's still a lot of mystery surrounding the ceremony, and probably it's for the best. So everybody, maybe the 1 billion spectators that are expected to watch it on TV tonight can, still have a sense of surprise when they watch the ceremony tonight.
Well, thousands of athletes gliding along the river for a spectacle, I hear, will last for almost 4 hours. It took more than 3 years of preparation, I hear, so it'll undoubtedly be historic. And the star-studded opening performances, of course, is something that we're all looking forward to. Jee-ho, let's get to the medal expectations for the Paris Olympics. According to a U.S. sports data analysis firm, Grace Note's virtual medal table, the U.S. and China will be neck and neck in the number of golds, with the U.S. leading by a large margin in the number of total medals. Which team is expected to top the ranking?
Yeah, so the U.S. and China have been really neck and neck in a lot of the recent Olympic Games. 3 years ago in Tokyo, the countries are ranked by gold medal totals, and the U.S. narrowly defeated China 39-38. But in terms of total medals, there was a bigger gap between those two countries: 113 for the U.S. team and 89 for China. I think this time expectations are pretty much the same as the last time. Projection, I think, anywhere between 45 and 50 gold medals for the U.S. and China, maybe 30 plus. If you're optimistic, maybe close to 40 than 30 for China in terms of the gold medals. U.S. has right now more number one ranked athletes or current world champions in their sports compared to China. And a lot of the returning silver and bronze medalists from Tokyo who may be able to take a step forward and maybe reach the top of the podium this time. Now, in the first week of the Olympics, China might get ahead of the U.S. because a lot of the events that they're strong at will be taking place in the opening week. But in the second week, I think U.S. might be able to pass China at some point because with the athletics and some of the team sports medals will be awarded later on in the competition. So in Tokyo, U.S. won 11 gold medals in the athletics. A lot of the track and field events will be later in the Olympics. With China, I guess we know that they're dominating table tennis. They're pretty much perfect in diving and also sports like weightlifting. So there's going to be a little bit of battle, I think, early on, but eventually I think the U.S. will be able to come out on top.
So U.S. on top. Many Olympics fans here in Korea will, of course, be rooting for Team Korea, but catching games played by some of the world's top players, many of them from the U.S. and China, is also something that we don't want to miss, right? And speaking of Team Korea, Jee-ho, the team was consistently placed among the top 10 nations in the Summer Olympics, but their ranking fell to the 16th place in the Tokyo Olympics 3 years ago. What are the medal expectations for the Paris Olympics, and in which sporting events are the Taeguk Warriors expected to excel?
So it used to be a given almost in Summer Games where Korea would finish in the top 10. Win double digits in terms of gold medal tallies. That's no longer the case, unfortunately. Fell a little bit out of top 10, I think, in Tokyo. Right now, for this year, the Sport and Olympic Committee has set out what I think is a bit of a modest target of winning 5 gold medals, which I think would place Korea around 15th in the medal table. I'm a little bit more optimistic in the Olympic Committee here. 5 gold medals, I think, is definitely doable. And some of the usual suspects, I think, will be asked to do the heavy lifting. Archery, for instance. There are 5 gold medals at stake in archery. Korea is targeting to win 3. But if Korea does win 3 out of the 5 gold medals in archery, it's not that difficult to imagine this country winning at least a couple more medals in every other sport going forward, because archery will be on the opening weekend. Hopefully they're going to be going out there, win a few medals, and set the tone for the rest of the delegation, and maybe some other athletes competing later on will be inspired by the archers' performance. In fact, on Thursday night, Yoo Jee-ho, one of the female archers, set a world record in the ranking round, scoring 694 out of a possible 720 to finish first in the ranking round, meaning she earned the top seed in the individual tournament, and also a combined score of the three Korean archers, number one also as a team. So the team itself got the top seed and got the bye to the quarterfinals of the team competition. So, the archer team is off to a good start. Some of the other medals might be coming from fencing. There are higher expectations in swimming now than some of the recent Olympic Games, with the current world champions, Hwang Sun-woo and Kim Woo-min, competing for medals in the men's 200-meter freestyle and men's 400-meter freestyle, respectively. With Kim Woo-min, he's going to be the first one to go for a medal in swimming. The 400-meter freestyle for men, that's going to be the very first medal race in swimming. It's going to be early Sunday morning hour time. It's about 3:30 a.m. So if anybody's willing to stay up in Korea and watch that, he might be bringing home the first medal, maybe even the first gold medal of the Paris Olympics for Korea.
As you pointed out, Team Korea is off to a great start, aren't they? South Korean archer Im Si-hyun already setting the first world record of the Paris Olympics in women's individual archery. It's really pretty impressive, but it would be much more thrilling to see the Taeguk Warriors perform well in various other events as well. Nicholas, there are numerous firsts to the 2024 Paris Olympics, one of which is the near total gender parity. Although it fell slightly short of the IOC's goal of a 50-50 split, it inched closer to the target than ever before. It's also seeking innovative ways to go green. Tell us more about these new efforts.
On the gender issue, it's actually quite funny if you put in perspective the fact that the creator of the modern Olympic game, the French Pierre de Coubertin, was firmly opposed to the idea of women even competing in the Olympics. But yes, the Paris Olympic is clinching closer to gender parity. If the last figures we have was around 5,700 men and 5,500 women, so 51-49% split. This is also because some countries have a higher rate of women athletes than other. It depends if, for instance, this country is very good on some team sports, because then for one competition you might have 10, 20 athletes competing, and on others it's only one person. But it also depends on the fact that on each country's will to invest or not in women's sport, to perform or not in women's sport. If we take the example of France, our national sport is football, and it took a long time to have more investments in women's sports, and it's going better now, but gender equality is still far away. So yeah, this is a positive effort. On the environmental aspect, the green aspects of things, there's been efforts by Paris 2024 to make things as good as possible, even though we need to point out that those world events where you host the world, of course, their environmental impact is not going to be good, because people are coming to Paris, and they're coming to Paris by plane. The initial goal was to go fully carbon neutral in the first years where Paris received the bid. Now the target was to not go above 1.5 million tons of carbon prints. It seems virtually almost impossible to do. We'll see if it happens or not. But just for the sake of comparison, Tokyo, that had no foreign spectator coming, the total at the end was 2 million. So it's going to be pretty hard. But despite that, I think a lot of positive efforts were made. There's a lot of cycling tracks that were built to help the visitors go from one Olympic site to another using their bicycles. And I think the most important thing, because that's the problem and the legacy also of the Olympics in some countries, is that for the first time, 95% of the Olympic sites where the competition will happen, they already existed, or they are just temporary built, and they can be rehabilitated or just destroyed. There was only one site that was built from scratch, which is a massive swimming pool in the Seine-Saint-Denis region just around Paris. There's been other efforts, maybe less less efficient, but kind of symbolic. We've seen all around TikTok and other social network athletes complaining on the beds because they were made on recycled cardboard. And they will be used afterwards. They will be recycled afterwards. So there's been various efforts, but yeah, as I mentioned in the first place, it's always hard to have a real positive environmental impact and have a real environmental friendly event if you're hosting the world.
And speaking of firsts, Jee-ho, 4 new sports are coming to the Games. Give us a bit of a background on how they were selected, and what are you most excited about?
Yeah, so breaking, or breakdancing really, will be making its Olympic debut in Paris, joined by 3 other relatively new sports coming back from making their debuts in Tokyo 3 years ago. There will be surfing, skateboarding, and sport climbing. All of these sports, they're right now part of the IOC's efforts to really reach out to a younger audience. With breaking, it made a successful debut at the 2018 Youth Olympics in Argentina. That drew more viewers than any other, I guess, so-called traditional or conventional sports. So it was a bit of an eye-opener, I think, for a lot of people. It's essentially a dance battle. 16 B-boys and 16 B-girls competing. For Korea, Hong Ten, Kim Hong-yeol will be the lone representative. He won a silver medal at the Asian Games last year in Hangzhou, China. Try to maybe do one better at the Olympics this time. So again, this is IOC and the Olympic organizers trying to reach out to a younger audience, trying to attract more people around the world. Who would have thought just a few years ago that we would be seeing dance battles in the Olympic stage? But this is a new era of sporting competitions now. There's some other newer disciplines within existing sports. For example, kayak cross. Artistic swimming is now open to men for the first time. Marathon race, walking, mixed relay is now part of the walking or athletics in place of a 50-kilometer walk. So a lot of the different changes now, but I think a lot of the eyeballs will be on breaking, making its Olympic debut in Paris.
I'm not that young, but I'm also very excited about the breaking debut in Paris. B-boys and B-girls, going face to face. It'll be very entertaining to watch. It could perhaps become another sporting event Team Korea can hunt for gold medals. Now, Nicholas, the Paris Olympics will be held amidst 2 ongoing wars, and big controversies are swirling around the Games in this regard. Palestine has requested the IOC to ban Israel from the Olympics, while a Russian spy was arrested in Paris after an alleged plan to destabilize Olympic Games. Tell us more about the latest developments surrounding the 2 wars and how Paris plans to address them.
Yeah, so the biggest impact was, first of all, that Russian athletes are not allowed to compete under the Russian flag. They have to compete through a neutral flag. Of course, Moscow is not very happy about that decision. A Russian was arrested a few days ago, according to the French Secret Service. He was here to destabilize the competition. And the fact that the Russians are not allowed to participate under their flag created that debate. As you mentioned, Palestine required to the IOC to ban Israel. It sparked quite a debate in France. Some people say that if Russians are not allowed to participate because of the atrocities committed by their government in Ukraine, why would Israel, that is currently conducting an attack on Gaza for more than 9 months now, that killed almost 40,000 people, a lot of them were children, why would those athletes be allowed? Other people point out that you cannot put the two in the same on the same level because Russians provoked the war in Ukraine, and Israel reacted to the Hamas attack of the 7th of October. The scale of the answer of Israel, the suffering in Gaza is also coming into account here. So there's not really an answer, an easy answer to this question. For now, the French policy, the Paris policy, has stayed more or less the same, which is, of course, sanctions against Russia, clearly, and keeping the alliance and the partnership with Israel, whilst pointing out that Paris is pushing for a two-states solution. What has been done for the Olympics clearly is enhancing massively the security around the Israeli athletes. We, of course, all have in mind the terrible terror attacks in Munich in 1972, which is a massive trauma that nobody wants to see happen again. So the security forces are deeply involved in surrounding the Israeli delegation, there's not much more that could be done for now. We can't expect much more on those issues.
And Nicholas, security concerns are also escalating in Paris, especially after a massive arson attack that was carried out against the country's rail network just this afternoon, causing cancellations of TGV high-speed train services. Some 800,000 passengers are set to be affected due to the attack that occurred just hours before the opening ceremony. Give us the latest developments on this, and what is France's strategy to resolve security concerns to ensure the successful hosting of the Games?
Yeah, it's still unfolding as we speak. What we know is that there's been multiple acts of arson on all 4 lines of high-speed railways. The lines going west, north, east are cut off. Only one line is still working right now. Other trains are hours late on the train station. There won't be any train going in and out until 1 a.m., which is in 1 hour now. It's an act of arson that has been committed clearly to block everything and every circulation in France before the Olympics. We are seeing scenes of chaos in Parisian train station right now on the television. People desperately waiting for a train. It might last for quite some time. Everything is still unsure. Some people say the traffic will still be heavily disturbed until next Monday. We don't have an idea of who committed those acts. What we know is that the people definitely targeted, the people concerned definitely targeted the high-speed railway lines. And they put fire to cables that are essential for circulation of train, to exchange information, which is hard, because the security strategy until now focused mostly on the opening ceremony, as I mentioned, along the Seine and the Olympic sites. Paris has been divided in different zones with heavy security screening around them, a necessary pass confirmation that you are a person that is allowed to go into that zone because you live here or you have a professional obligation to go there. So the security is pretty heavy in the center of Paris and around the Olympic sites. But those arsons were committed in very remote places, and by definition there's not a lot of people there, so it was really hard to avoid. No, it's noteworthy to say though that one of the arson attack, there were 4 in total, but one has been prevented last minute. This is why one high-speed railway line is still circulating right now. Yeah, I think as I mentioned, the security forces are mostly focusing on the safe ceremony, safe competition. It's a time also where there's a need for help from other countries, and we've seen Korean police officers, for instance, in the streets of Paris or other countries. So yeah, I think the security. The security strategy of France, appears ready, but there's a lot of things that are hard to control, as we just witnessed today.
So it is quite concerning, but Paris is making utmost efforts to enforce airtight security. So we genuinely hope that the city will be able to ensure a safe and successful hosting of the Olympic Games. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for your great reporting.
Thank you for having me. And
many thanks to you as well, Jee-ho, as always, for sharing your perspectives with us.
Thanks for having me.
And that does it for this edition of Within the Frame. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back with more same time next week. Have a great weekend.